Hello to all you innovators and creators out there. Now I know that you guys are innovators because you're looking to do things differently. You're looking to stand out in your industry and become known for leading the way. And one of the #1 ways to do that is through using video on social media. But what a lot of people don't realise is there's key elements that you need within your video to really make your videos pop and stand out, to make people stand up and pay attention. Actually, let me show you what I mean. Now you can do this through visual storytelling. It will help you to grab the attention and to hold the attention. You can do this by showing B-roll that is relatable to your industry or to your character. This will help to give context to what you're talking about and visual stimulation. And hopefully, if you do it the right way, you're going to give some others the inspiration to follow your lead. And that's when you position yourself as a thought leader. Well, hopefully anyway. Now I'm going to show you this quick example, and it's inspired by Peter McKinnon, and I've actually used some of Peter's sound effects which he actually did with his mouth. Like, it's crazy when you listen to him, but yeah, just check them out anyway.
I love you, Daddy.
Hopefully you enjoyed that B-roll and you was inspired to create your own around your own interests and your own industry. But the key is there's 5 elements that make up good B-roll. The lighting's got to be right, angles and your perspective, frame rate that you're using, music and sound design. Now let's talk lighting. Sometimes you haven't got the time to set up the perfect lighting. You've got to work with what you've got. So if you're working with what you've got, you've really got to look at what type of emotions do you want to make people feel. Do you want it to be dark and gloomy? Do you want it to be light and airy? Like, do you want to put a tint of colour into your light, or do you want to play with it a little bit and get creative? If you watch your favourite films, certain scenes which have a significant bearing on the story, they will put a tint of a colour to get across that emotion. So there's loads of different films where they use red for love, and they use like red for anger sometimes they use red for lust as well. There's loads of different array of emotions that they use colouring to help convey those emotions to you. Obviously you don't have to be going as all in with all of them, but sometimes it helps if you go that extra yard. If you really want to stand out in your industry, the ones that go that extra yard are really going to pop because nobody else is putting in that same amount of effort. And it's all about effort at the end of the day. And once you get into the habit of doing something, it becomes easy, it becomes second nature. So don't worry about if you don't get it at first, just practice and keep executing. If you look at my one, for example, I use RGB lights because I had the time to set them up. It was up in my kitchen, and I literally just set them up. And one of the things that it helps you to do with RGB lights, if you're using it in your videos, it helps you to grab attention on social media, because when you're scrolling down and you see like a red pop out, red is known to grab attention. That's why you see certain politicians when they're talking or giving important speeches or running for election or anything like that, they wear red ties because it helps to capture attention. So when you're scrolling down on your news feed and you see red, it makes you think stop. That's why we have it on our traffic lights. Like, it's something that's known as automaticity, and it's one of the key factors to grabbing attention, but we'll leave that for another episode anyway. Now let's talk angles and perspective. Angles and perspective is important because if you've got an angle that's a bit awkward and it is at eye level and it's not the same as what we would see in our point of view, it's going to give a unique angle that we'd never looked from before, so then it makes it more interesting. A lot of people or videographers, they normally use angles from a tripod and it's limiting. And when you're scrolling down, it doesn't really grab attention on social media because it's the angle that you're used to. Nobody wants the steady shot. They want the shot that's swirling or that's turning around or that's doing the barrel roll, because it's abnormal, it's captivating, it really captures attention, and that's what you want to be doing. And let's talk about frame rates. If you want something to look epic, then you use 120 frames per second. The average iPhone can film in 120 frames per second. Just don't film indoors because the lights will flicker. But apart from that, you'll be fine, perfectly fine. But also, if you want a fast-paced video and you just want to show quick images of something, loads of images, you don't need 120 frames per second. You can shoot in 30, 60 or 24. In my example, I used a mixture of 120 frames per second mixed with 60 frames per second. At the start of the video where you see it doing the barrel roll, that's 120 frames per second. Whereas some of the other ones, I just use 60 frames per second in 4K. And that enabled me to be able to punch into the image and crop in without losing any quality or anything like that. So it gives me some options when I'm editing. Talk about music. Music sets the feel to a video. It really sets the emotion that the viewer is feeling, and it also sets the pacing if you're editing to the beat. Now let's look at the same edit to different music and see how it doesn't match. It doesn't get across the same type of emotions. Now let's talk sound design. Sound design is really important because sound design is really what makes your videos stand out. It's what makes them memorable. It's what makes them immersive. It feels like you're actually there because you can hear the little sounds in the environment that you're in. Like take the taser sound for instance. That isn't the sound that it actually makes, and it doesn't need to be ultra realistic. Sometimes it's good to make it unrealistic because it makes it memorable. So after they've watched that video, they're always going to remember it because they heard that sound and they didn't automatically link that sound to the visuals, but it's memorable. They remembered it, which is the key to any video. You want someone to remember it when they turn it off. There's no point in them forgetting it and having realistic sounds all the time. I mean, depending on what industry you're in, you could really play with the sound design and get comical with it, or you can get immersive with it, or you can just really get emotional with it. But there's so many options with sound design, and a lot of videographers, a lot of people out there that do video, they don't mess with sound design too much, because a lot of the time, yeah, you do need technical skills in sound sometimes, but a lot of the time you can just download sounds. You don't even need to do the sounds yourself. There's stock sound, royalty-free stock sound that you can actually use and embed in your video. But a lot of the time you don't even really need that. You can just create your own sounds, be creative with it. Like I says, the Peter McKinnon sounds that I'm actually using within that video were all done with his mouth. Yeah, he did have a sound technician, but either way, he created them with his mouth. All they did was literally smoothed it out a little bit, but most of it you can create with your mouth or create with an environment or something like that. Like if you take right now, I'm in the middle of the woods because there's certain sounds that I want to capture for my videos where I know that you can't capture anywhere else. And because it's the UK woods, I'm going to capture sounds that are native to the UK, and being as I'm filming in the UK, makes sense to capture them and capture them raw. So yeah, that's why I'm here. If you're wondering why am I just walking in the woods with the camera, I don't just do this for like, you know, fun. But then again, it is good to get out sometimes, sparks that creativity. Hopefully those 5 key elements will help you to create content yourself. Now please let me know in the comments below if you'd like more videos like this in the future. Would you like it to be more in-depth or less in-depth? Would you like little snippets, or would you like me to go all in? Oh yeah, I forgot. Don't forget to subscribe and share with somebody else.